What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at two of the most popular fully electric SUVs on the market. The 2025 Chevy Equinox EV and the all-new 2026 Tesla Model Y. We're going to take a look at both of these vehicles in depth, and we'll start with the 2025 Chevy Equinox, but let's go somewhere a little more quiet. All right, so we're going to start here on the exterior of the Equinox EV. So this is a 2025 Equinox EV RS in radiant red tint coat with the black interior, and you're going to notice since it is an RS, you get some specific RS badging, some carbon fiber elements, and we'll take a look at all of it in this portion of the video, and then we will take the Equinox EV for a test drive so we can then compare it to the Model Y. And I am trying to do this as unbiasedly as I can while wearing a Model Y Launch Edition t-shirt. But I am a big fan of the Equinox EV, so I'm excited to talk about it here. All right, so starting here on the front of the Model Y, first thing that you're gonna notice is we actually have a pretty similar design here to the Model Y, at least the updated Model Y. Of course, if I would have shot this video last year and compared the two, there would have been some noticeable differences in the front fascia. But here, really, there's a lot more going on the Chevy, but they're pretty similar designs. So you've got really low profile LED running lights here and your turn signals. You have an LED light bar that runs across the front, very similar, we've seen that. You're gonna have your main beams and your high beams down here below. You're gonna have some air pass-throughs there. You're gonna have a front-facing camera, that's a similarity there. Some subtle badging that we don't get on the Model Y. And of course, because this is a GM vehicle, we're gonna have all kinds of little aggressive elements and things at the bottom. You've got a little bit of a carbon fiber bit that runs across here. Then you're gonna have kind of a faux grille with some diamond patterns in the front. This is like a glossy black plastic. Like I mentioned, this is the sportier RS version, so we get some RS badging. Now you may expect under the hood to find a frunk, just like we've got on the Model Y. Unfortunately, that's not the case with the Equinox EV or any of Chevy's other EVs, except for the Silverado EV, which does have a frunk. This is going to be all of your electrical components, all of your motors and things, your battery, fluids, all going to be accessible here. Now this is probably more like familiar for most people, although it's not my favorite thing not having a frunk in a space that's this size, because you could have a very decent amount of storage space here in the front if Chevy was able to condense some of this stuff down and put it underneath and give you a little bit of storage space here. That would be much appreciated, but no such thing here on the Equinox EV, but everything is easily accessible. So if we come around here to the side, this Equinox RS is sitting on 21-inch black wheels here. They look pretty nice, actually. I'm a big fan of the design. But again, 21-inch wheels, absolutely massive wheels here, which I do think impacts range, but it is going to give you a little bit of a nicer ride quality here. Now, if we open up the charge port area here, not a powered charge port, just a manual. You've got an 11.5 kilowatt AC onboard charger that is DC fast charging capable at up to 150 kilowatts. And all of that charging is going to be linked to an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. You got black mirror caps because this is an RS, and you do have cameras up underneath there, which again is a nice comparison piece when we move over to the Model Y. These mirrors are also heated. They have blind spot monitoring built in, but they are manual folding. You've got some badging on the side, a little bit of chrome and black accent at the bottom. Now these door handles are really interesting. This is a little bit of a contrast point. And while you don't have a powered charge port, you do have power presenting door handles here. When you unlock the vehicle, you can click here and it will go ahead and unlock and pop those door handles right out. Or also, if you lock it, and then you use the key fob to unlock the vehicle or just walk up to it like that, they're gonna self-present and you can go ahead and open them just like that. Whereas Tesla does have a powered charge port, but the handles, you have to actually manually push them in to open it. So a little bit different. We will take a look at the sunroof inside, but it does have a panoramic sunroof here. You've got roof rails up top here, LED tail lights in the back, and a nice LED tail light bar as well. And I really like the design of this. I've always been a big fan. It kind of like segments down a little bit in these really cool accents. So it's got a cool stance at night, definitely noticeable. But this back end is pretty interesting, right? It's almost got like a little shelf that sticks out right here. So you've got a spoiler up top, tinted rear glass with a wiper, and you've got parking sensors dotted around the bottom, rear camera with a sprayer. You got more of that kind of textured diamond pattern and then a cool diffuser at the bottom. And of course, you're not gonna have an exhaust because this is an EV. You also have this camera up underneath here. Man, this car is dirty. But you got a camera up underneath there with a sprayer, and that is gonna actually connect to your rear view mirror, which we'll take a look at when we hop inside. Also of note, we do have a powered liftgate that has the easy open feature. But now that we've got my camera box out of the way, you can get access to 26.4 cubic feet of cargo space with those second row seats folded up. If you fold those down, you'll go all the way up to 57 cubic feet of cargo space. And you've got some underfloor storage as well. If we lift this up here, nice big storage area down there where you can keep your dual level charging cable. All your kind of tools and things are gonna be back there as well. Some little compartments on the side. Now, these second row seats, of note, are not power folding. So you do have to go around and press those buttons to drop them, which we'll take a look at in just a sec. But inside of this big package here, you do have your dual level charging cable. So it's gonna have different adapters you can plug in. Here is a 240, and then you've got your standard 120 right there. It still has the J1772 adapter there, so not NACS standard, but these will charge on Tesla superchargers with an adapter. And we can take a look at the back seats here. So the door panel materials are always something that I focus on in all of my videos, and I get kind of a lot of flack for it because people are like, it's just, why do you care about the door panels? It matters. So the materials here, the back door is not the best example. We'll take a look at the front door in a minute. But the back door, plastic, right? Plastic, 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 all the way down here. You do get a little bit of kind of a leatherette feeling textured material right here, which is nice. And I do like this little gradient colored piece. That looks really cool. But hopping here into the back seat, the first thing you're gonna notice, obviously, are these EvoTech seating surfaces. They're kind of a combo, so like a leatherette and a cloth. So you get the leatherette up here and then the cloth kind of inserts, and they have this really neat kind of gradient effect to them. I hope that's coming across on camera there a little bit with this kind of red backing to them. Like I mentioned, not power folding, but you can grab the handle here and drop them down just like that if you want to get extra storage space. But again, just some of the things to point out here. Plastic trim all along the door panels here. Again, why does this matter? We'll talk about it when we move over to the Model Y, but it makes a difference. Also, here around the center console area, more plastic. You do get some rear vents here that are adjustable. Heated outboard seats, that's one of the things that's added on to this RS model. It does not come standard, but it's an additional package you can get. 2 USB-C ports there. You do get map pockets in the back of both seats. Center armrest that folds down with 2 additional cup holders. This passenger seat is back pretty far, and I still have room to tuck my feet under. I've still got a decent amount of leg room here. The headroom, it's hard to show on camera. It's not amazing. As you can see here, it's weird because there's like a little lip where if this lip wasn't here, this part right here, I would have a lot more headroom. So if you kind of like put your head back here, then you get more headroom, probably like 3 fingers worth. But this lip comes into place. So if you're a little bit taller than me and I'm 6'1", your head's gonna be like right up against this thing. So just a little bit different for backseat passengers. You may have to kind of slouch down in the seat to give yourself some extra headroom. So just something to keep in mind because of this big piece right here. But let's move to the front door here. We can take a look at the materials here. The reason I point this out is simply for comparison purposes. Again, this video is not really to influence you in one way or another, although of course I am wearing a Tesla shirt, and if you follow the channel, I am a big fan of Tesla. I still think the Equinox is a great option. I just want to show you guys all the similarities and differences between all of the detail points, which are really important to me, so you can make an informed decision. Maybe some of this stuff doesn't matter. Maybe the door panel material doesn't matter to you. That's fine. Go with which one you enjoy driving more, or whatever technology you like better. Up top here, you do have some soft touch here. You get a little bit more of that textured piece. You get some ambient lighting that goes on that portion there. Position memory seats here. Automatic windows just for the front driver's side window, mirror controls here, more of that kind of textured leatherette material. And then everything from there down is going to be hard black plastic. Again, just keep that in mind. Power adjustable front seats with lumbar support. And as you can see, the front seats get a few more accent pieces. So you get this red little accent trim piece here, and then some stitching here that is both red and blue. And then there's also some gray stitching here with your RS badging on the headrests. But again, these seats heated and ventilated for driver and passenger, heated for rear seat passengers on the outboard sides. If we hop into the cabin here, we can talk about everything we've got going on in here. So a lot of these features, just to keep in mind, have been optioned on, so they don't always come standard. But This is still right around the same price point as the Model Y with all of these features included, so important note. So first and foremost, you do have a leather-wrapped steering wheel with that accent stitching, which I think looks really nice. RS badging in the center, nice Chevy bow tie as well. You have your adaptive cruise control with stop and go right here. You've got all of your media controls and your heated steering wheel button here. And then as far as stocks go, you do have two stocks. So one is a combo stock that's going to have your light and wiper controls on it all on one side. And then your shift stock with your push to park button is going to be on that side. And it works basically exactly how the old Model Y used to work. And then you do have this. Now this feature is one of my favorite features that I think really gives the Equinox a leg up. And it is this regen on demand button. Now, I used to use this all the time on my Bolt. It basically gives you increased regen power whenever you want it just by pressing this down. And it comes in handy a lot because sometimes the regen is great and it slows you way down if you learn the timing all properly. But sometimes there's kind of an emergency situation and you need to kind of give it a little bit extra juice, and you can really squeeze this pedal and it'll apply a lot more regen. So you just don't have to use your mechanical brakes. You can just use your regen. So I always love that. I really wish that was something you could kind of include on Tesla, and maybe with Enhanced Auto products you can. Haven't really messed with that, but you do have it here on the Equinox. Some cool kind of Camaro-inspired vents here that shut when you twist them like that, and then you can open it around and pivot it around inside its enclosure. So physical vents that you actually interact with. That's different than Tesla, obviously. Now down here, you've got your electronic parking brake, you've got your lane keep assist button, auto vehicle hold button, which I always encourage you to turn that on, and your electronic trunk button, so you can press that to open it up. We have this 11-inch driver information center. You can see here that I've got it on the view that shows me my Google Maps, which is really neat. Love having that navigation front and center there. And it gives you some vehicle information over here while still maintaining a pretty good view of that map. But we can use this button here to switch through different views. So you can see one that has like your adaptive cruise settings. You can see one that's a little bit cleaner, and then one that has a little bit more information on it. Now this is all built on Google's platform, both the driver information display and the driver infotainment display, which we'll take a look at in just a sec. It's all built on Google. So it's gonna have all of your Google apps built in. That's why we see the Google Maps view when we go to this position here. Now, obviously this is different than the Model Y since we do not have this at all on the Model Y. Now, if we move over here to the 17.7-inch driver infotainment system, technically speaking, this is a larger display than what you get on the Model Y at 17.7 inches. I think it's 15.2 on the Model Y. However, it is a different aspect ratio, so it's a little bit longer and less, tall and square. It's a little bit squattier and longer. So this is going to have all of your different vehicle information on it. You've got vehicle status, drive modes, like I said, built on Google. So you're going to get Google Assistant, the Play Store. Obviously, Google Maps is going to be built in Google Podcasts, Google News, all that kind of stuff there. You can access your charging menu here, change what you want to charge to, schedule home charging, do preconditioning, all that kind of stuff through that menu. You can access your cameras here, and this is going to give you your 360-degree camera system that you get there, and you can switch to an overhead view, see straight down, see out your back camera, look at your side pillar cameras if you want to that are on the side mirrors. So that's all good. The only thing I don't love about this system is it's not the highest res cameras, but it takes up so little of the screen. Like you have so much real estate that they kind of just filled with nothing. So always kind of been a bugaboo of mine that I wish they'd stretch that out, make it full screen. You do have ambient lighting here, as I mentioned, so you can pick any of these custom colors here. You can also set it to drive mode, which is nice, and you're gonna get it over on this portion here and then over on the door panels in this area. So it looks really nice. It's got a nice kind of texture to it. On-screen climate controls here, you can completely customize everything with these buttons as well. You do have physical climate controls in addition to that, which I think is a little bit overkill, but it does help with kind of the comfort and convenience for those that have never driven an EV before and aren't used to having only on-screen climate. You do get physical controls here for those that want it, but everything can be accomplished on this menu here or using the shortcut buttons at the bottom. Wi-Fi hotspot built in, that's something you do not get on the Tesla, at least not one that you can connect your phone to. That is a paid option though. You got AM, FM, Sirius XM, Bluetooth, like I said, Google News, Alexa, and podcasts built in. Now, one thing you're going to notice does not exist is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And you'd think maybe being built on an Android system that Android Auto would be an option. It is not. Chevy has removed, and GM in general, has removed Apple CarPlay and Android Auto for safety reasons. That is the exact reason they gave, although they do include it on the Chevy Silverado EV work truck. No Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You don't have that on Teslas either, but you get some of those features, right? You get like Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, all that kind of stuff built in, Audible, things like that. You just don't get that here. You're going to have to rely on either using Google Podcasts if you're a Google Podcast user, or Google user in general, Android user, or Bluetooth from your phone, which is definitely an option. You do have a Qi-enabled wireless charging pad. And then as far as other charging, you've got 2 USB-C ports here, a little bit of a tray, 2 cup holders, and then inside of this little armrest here, it's a nice textured armrest, pretty comfortable. It only opens this way. So if you're a passenger and you're trying to get into the armrest here, tough. Only the driver can access that. And you get a tray in here and then a nice deep pocket with an LED light in there. So decent storage space there. Now, we mentioned outside that you do get a rear view mirror camera. Now, this is a 2-way mirror here, so it functions as just a standard mirror where you can see into your second row. But if you flick this little switch right here, it's going to turn into your camera. And you can adjust some of the settings using this button here. Then you have your sunroof controls and your LED dome lights up here. You also have OnStar buttons as well. But we can go ahead and press the sunroof shade button here and get access to that beautiful large panoramic sunroof here. Now we can also slide it back, which is an edge that the Equinox EV has over the Model Y. Unfortunately, you cannot do this on a Tesla. It's locked in place, but you do get a much larger piece of glass on the Model Y. All right, let's take the Equinox EV for a little test drive. Now, I have plenty of experience driving the Equinox EV. I have much more experience driving this than I do the new Model Y, which I've only driven once prior to filming this, so it'll be twice. Let's go ahead and take some of the measurables real quick in the cabin. So we'll turn the climate control off. We've got the vehicle just at idle here, and we'll get a dB test. So right around 40 dB, let's turn off the climate controlled seat and see. Even quieter, 34, 35. So very, very quiet. Obviously, we'll compare that to the Tesla numbers in just a bit. So again, no start button, just like the Tesla. You just get in, you sit down, you buckle in, and then you can shift. And then you can press the brake and shift. So we'll go ahead and do that. And like I said, I did turn auto vehicle hold on. But after driving it for just a bit, the very first thing I noticed is actually that it's going to start pouring here in just a sec. There's some nasty weather over there. But the first thing I noticed about the car is that you ride noticeably higher. Now, I've had the dimensions on screen, or I will have had them on for both models so you can see, but the Equinox is a little bit taller and a little bit longer, whereas the Model Y is wider and not as tall. Let's get a low speed dB test here. The ride height, definitely noticeable. Now, it's not significantly taller than the Model Y, like I said, but the way the seat sits, there's a pretty big area underneath that boosts you up even higher. So for 2025, the Equinox did get a little bit of horsepower bump. I was expecting more of a little pin back. It'll get going. Like it doesn't, there's not as much punch to it. So this is the front wheel drive only model. There is also an all-wheel drive model. That one is gonna have 300 horsepower. This one got a little horsepower boost up to 220. So this is gonna have the 220 horsepower. Here comes the rain. And then the all-wheel drive is gonna have 300. So not the best comparison between the two. Unfortunately, at the place that I work, we didn't have an all-wheel drive model. We have 17 Equinox EVs, and they are all front-wheel drive. But if you do want that little bit of an accelerated driving experience, you're gonna wanna go with the all-wheel drive because it's gonna give you that little boost. I'm not even gonna really compare the two as far as acceleration because it's not a fair comparison. That Model Y is gonna have like 380 horsepower, which again, still objectively, right? You can say that the Model Y, no matter which one you get, and the Equinox, no matter which one you get, the Model Y is gonna be faster accelerating than the Equinox is. However, there's not that many Model Y options to choose from right now. As of the time of making this video, there is one trim, and that is the dual motor long range. We already know we are getting a performance. We already know we're going to get a rear wheel drive variant that will probably be more comparable to the horsepower numbers and 0 to 60 time that you get here on the Equinox front wheel drive. But let's talk about some of the things that are really standing out to me about driving the Equinox EV and things that I really like about it. First and foremost, I do like the ride height. I think that one of the things that's funny about the Model Y, and you either like this or don't, that's fine either way, but it feels a little bit more like a raised car than an SUV. I know it is an SUV, but it just doesn't ride as high as you'd expect. The Equinox here feels very much so like an SUV. So if you really prefer that feel, you want to sit up high, you want to feel like you got a big car around you, maybe go with the Equinox. I still think the Tesla's probably safer overall than the Equinox. That's just what Tesla does. They're really good at that. But the Equinox feels like an SUV. So if you really prefer that feel, you want something that's a little bit more traditional, you're going to get that here on the Equinox. I like having a heads-up display. You know what's funny is I've been driving my Model 3 that I own for over a year now. It's been like 14 months, I think. And I've gotten so used to not looking at a heads-up display, not looking at a driver information center, and just using my peripheral vision to look at the speed on the little screen at the top left corner. That's it. And once you train your brain away from needing all of this excess stuff, you just don't need it. Personally, I don't think you do. And I think it's all just excess at that point. And that's fine. If you want all the excess stuff, go for it. It's your money, it's your car. But for me, I just don't really need it. And so having a heads-up display, cool, doesn't bother me one way or another, not necessary in my opinion. Having an infotainment display, not necessary in my opinion. This one's fine though. It's not my favorite like graphics style. I've mentioned that in previous videos before. Yeah, we're gonna get really rainy here in a minute. Not my favorite graphics style here on this infotainment display, but I do really like that you can get some customization with it. I like having the on-screen mapping. I know a lot of people really like that. So all that's great. I think, you know, I'm a big fan, and I think if you like that stuff and you want it traditional driver information display, you like gauges, all that kind of stuff, go for it. Be my guest. Get the Equinox EV because it has it for you. Now the driver infotainment display, I like that it's driver-centric. I like that everything's pretty easy and accessible. Personally, it doesn't bother me to have on-screen only climate controls, but for those that prefer physical controls, the Equinox may be the move because you do get standard from the factory physical controls down here for your climate. And I know a lot of people appreciate that. But you can, now that it's getting dark, see some of the ambient lighting lighting up over here. It's pretty dark now. You can see it on the door panels and right there on the front of the dash. And it looks nice. And again, you can customize that. It's a smooth ride, very nice. Oh, we just got to transition over to the dark mode here because it realized we were getting really dark. I also really like the rear view mirror camera. I think that's a great touch. It's a premium feature. Not everybody cares about it, but it's nice to have that for sure. And I did want to mention one more thing just on the graphics styling. Well, it's not my favorite. All of it is pretty smooth. Like that's one of the things that Tesla always has a leg up on is software. And while this can't compare to that in performance, it still performs really well. Like it's not really laggy, it's snappy, like you can swipe back and forth, it's a really high refresh rate, nice and smooth. You get some nice graphics on screen when you see the vehicle. When you go to vehicle status here, you get a nice little rendering of your car and you can check all of the different pressures and things. So everything is there, everything's presented in an effective way. Style might not be personal preference, but it still all works really well. And you can't say that for every single EV out there. The base price of the RS here starts around $43,000 pre-tax credit. With all of the options we've added on here, it's about $50,000. So it is going to be more expensive than a Model Y in most cases. But if you factor in that tax credit, you're getting back there around that $43,000 price point. But yeah, the overall kind of handling, steering, it feels good. Not the most responsive, I gotta be honest with you guys. Like there is like this little bit of like disconnection that you feel from the road. Like when I turn the wheel like that, I don't feel like it immediately responds. Like it's not really tight. There's a little bit of this kind of delay, almost like a video game with some input lag, where you just don't get that exact one-to-one. There's just a little, oh, here comes the heavy rain. Just a little bit of disconnection there. Another thing I wanted to point out that is not my favorite about the Equinox, the visibility is fine. I wouldn't say it's amazing. Blind spot right here, pretty rough blind spot. You do get a little pocket window there, but it's still, ugh, it's just not great here on the A-pillar. Front windshield's fine, not amazing, but fine. But we do get a good kind of vibe on how well the Equinox is gonna handle some severe weather here. You know, it's a wet road here, a little bit slick. I do feel very grounded, very connected to the road. Don't feel like I'm slipping and sliding at all, even with some standing water on the roads. I'll give it a little juice here. Nah, feels good, very locked in. That is some rain, folks. Feels like someone's dumping a bucket. It's like coming down and then it's like, wham, bucket full of water. I can't even talk. It's too loud to talk. The windshield wipers don't go fast enough for me to be able to see. This is the craziest test drive I've ever done. I feel like it's simulated. I can't see anything. Go faster, windshield wipers. All right, new complaint. The windshield wipers don't go fast enough. Is it hailing? It's hailing! Oh God, I'm so sorry, Equinox. I hope this is coming across on camera as crazy as it is in real life. I'm with these people. I want to like pull over. I can't see. All right, we pulled over. I'm not getting on the highway. I can't see anything. That's a terrible, terrible idea. I'm not getting in an accident just for content.
A few inches later.
All right, we've calmed down a little bit. That was about as tough of a driving situation as you can possibly be in. And I'm glad I did not get on the highway because it is stop traffic. I did some hard braking while we were driving there a little bit to see if I noticed any slippage. I mean, this thing has been rock solid in a very, very difficult situation here. But if you want an EV that feels very much like a transitional vehicle, going from a gas to an electric, the Equinox is a really, really good option. It still has a lot of the same driving feel and creature comforts that you'd expect on a gas vehicle around this price point. One thing I did want to mention before I wrap this portion up is that while you can get Super Cruise on the Equinox, this one does not have it. So you don't have any kind of autonomous or even semi-autonomous driving systems. And I think that's a big downside. You don't have anything that compares with Tesla's autopilot, which comes standard. Not even anything you have to pay extra for, like full self-driving. This just has adaptive cruise control with stop and go. So if you want an advanced semi-autonomous driving system, the Equinox without Super Cruise is not for you. All right, so now let's take a look at the all-new 2026 Tesla Model Y. Now we've got this beautiful model here. This is a long-range dual motor in the stealth gray color with the black interior. This is the only trim option currently available. You could get the Launch Edition, which had a couple extra features, but now, as of making this video, there's just one version that you can get, as I've already mentioned in this video. So we'll go ahead and start here up front now. As I mentioned, this has been redesigned here in 2026. They're calling it 2026, even though it is a 2025 model year vehicle. Tesla is marketing it as a 2026, just to clear up the confusion. But similarly to the Equinox, you're going to notice this headlight design. So we've got the turn signal and the LED light bar that runs across the front of the vehicle. That's an update here for the new Model Y. So turn signal in this little portion actually right here, then this whole light bar that runs across the front, and then your high beams and your main beams are going to be down here in this lower unit. Basically exactly what we've got on the Equinox. A little air pass through there, similar. And then the front bumper, as is on most Teslas, very, very simplified. You don't have all of that cladding like you've got over on the Equinox, but you do have a front-facing camera, which is the first time we've ever had one on a Model Y, similarly to the Equinox EV. Now, unlike the Equinox EV, you actually do get a frunk here on the Model Y. So you can see that they've moved the windshield wiper fluid nozzle. It was up here, moved it down here, and you've got this nice frunk, plenty of space in here. You've got your little hook for towing, and you've got a little plug here. So this can actually be used like a cooler, fill it with ice, put some drinks in it on a hot summer day, and then drain the water out right there. Now, unlike the Equinox, you can't see any of the mechanical elements unless you pull this back, and then you can get access to things like the battery. Not a power frunk though. You've got to slam that closed here. And you'll notice we don't have any badging like we have on the Equinox. Nice, clean front end. Now the Tesla Model Y here is sitting on 19-inch cross-flow wheels, but you can also upgrade those to 20-inch Helix 2.0 wheels but you will lose about 13 miles of range. So really up to you, plus it's an extra $2,000 if you want to add those on. You do have these cameras here on the side with a little turn signal built in. So on the Equinox, they're up under the mirrors. Here on Teslas, they're on the side right here. Power folding side mirrors with this little extra piece for improved airflow. So a little bit of a new design there. You also do have cameras on your B-pillars here, and these can actually work with Sentry mode in the most recent update. Tinted rear glass. Now, unlike the Equinox, you do not have self-presenting door handles. These ones you do have to actually push your finger in to get access to, just like that. It's a little bit different there, but unlike the Equinox, you do have a power charge port. So if we kind of press here, you can get access to that charge port. NACS power adapter there, 250 kilowatt fast charging, and you've got a little LED indicator there as well. Now, if we move around to the back of the Model Y here, you'll notice most of the changes take place back here. It's a little bit more squared off. The glass ends a little bit more abruptly. You get a little bit of a spoiler here in the back, as you can see, kind of a fin almost. You do get a rear camera here, and then you'll notice shining through right here, you get this indirect LED light bar that runs across the back. So Equinox has a direct light bar. You know, it's built in with the little segments here. The Model Y here has this LED light up underneath that shines down onto this kind of textured plastic bit with the Tesla word mark here. Gives it a really nice appearance and a really interesting stance that you don't see anywhere else. Plus it will reflect on the ground at night. You do have LED taillights here as well. But outside of that and that little dual motor badge and the Tesla word mark, that's all we've got back here. There's just not a lot to it. And that helps with repairability. That helps with just making an overall cleaner design, but I really do like it. It is a power liftgate, just like we have on the Equinox. Now with that trunk opened, you get access to 33 cubic feet of cargo space with the second row seats up. 33! The Equinox EV has 25. This has 33 cubic feet of cargo space, plus I mentioned on the Equinox we do not have power folding rear seats. Here on the Model Y we do, so we can just tap these once. They will slide down, and if you notice, it may be hard to see, but those front seats also slide forward to give access to the seats to lay down, and then they slide back, which is such a neat feature. I've never seen that before. But with those folded down, you get 75 cubic feet of cargo space in this Model Y, a relatively small vehicle, which is absolutely incredible space there. Plus, we can put these seats back up, another one touch here, and those seats slide forward. The seats come up, and then those front seats slide back, and boom, we're back to our normal position. You do have some underfloor storage here where you can get your cargo cover back here. You can store it. Plenty of storage space down there for additional items, including your charging cable, which is included with this Model Y. You get some little deep pockets on the side. I've got my GoPros over on this one. But not a whole lot going on back here, but the functionality and the space is unbelievable. Now, if we come around to the door panels here, I mentioned the material quality when we were over on the Equinox, and there was a very specific reason for that. I wanted to be able to compare and contrast to what we have here on the Model Y. Again, very similarly priced vehicle. I think this one's about 48 pre-tax credit. I'll have all the numbers on screen exactly for you guys. Now, this one is a little dirty. It's a loaner unit, so it's a little bit dirty, but you get soft touch material up top. You get your LED ambient light strip that is customizable here. You get a little textile fabric here. Then you get Alcantara on the sides of the door panels here. Double stitched leatherette here, that's soft touch. And then this is the important part. Soft touch all the way down at the bottom, and then your speaker grill here, the whole door panel. There is not a bit of hard black plastic in the traditional sense on this door panel at a cheaper priced vehicle. You get a nice little bit of soft carpet here as well. And what you'll notice about that is that it continues throughout the entirety of the cabin. Dash here, soft touch, double stitching, textile fabric here, soft carpet down here, soft touch on the sidewall right here, soft touch on the sidewall right here. Obviously, you've got your leatherette seats, which we'll take a look at in just a sec. But this theme does not just stick with the front doors. On the back doors, where you typically lose on quality just to cut cost, soft touch everywhere. All of this is high quality material, and that makes a big difference to the vehicle feeling more cohesive and more premium. And I really appreciate that about Tesla. Here in the back seats, you get some nice legroom. You can tuck your feet up underneath. You got a mat pocket on the back of both of these seats, which is great. Again, pretty dirty here, honestly, but you got some USB-C ports. A rear screen for backseat passengers. If you're familiar with Tesla, this can do all kinds of stuff. You can control your climate control, you can play games, you can watch theater mode, so Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, all that kind of stuff right on this display. It's great for rear seat passengers, plus you can connect Bluetooth headphones individually to it, not just to this screen, but to this screen specifically, so kids can watch stuff back here and have their own headphones, which is really, really nice. You've got rear vents here that are customizable as well. All your little typical stuff with your LED lights here and your hooks to hang clothes and things, but not a whole lot going on back here. As you can see, you do have this centerpiece that folds down, 2 additional cup holders as well. And this does fold down, so you grab this back portion here and the center folds down. So you do have a pass-through just like you've got on the Equinox, but this is the entire bench piece. So you've got a clean split right there, which is great. Adjustable headrests, which is nice to have in this size vehicle. Legroom is good. You know, it's better than the Equinox for sure. Not by a whole lot, but better. But it's really the headroom that makes the difference. Look at this. I mean, I've got at least a hand's worth of headroom here, which you just don't have on the Equinox. You had a couple fingers of headroom on the Equinox, which is so nice. And it just feels bigger and brighter because of how much panoramic glass is here. In the Equinox, you had it kind of cut off at this area, but this, the whole back, it's huge. And it just feels so bright. It feels like you're almost in the clouds with how open and bright and airy it is. And I love that. It's so nice. Now, hopping into the front, I did already mention that material quality here. You've got some textile fabric, but all of this up here is all soft touch. Again, makes a huge difference. A little bit of textured plastic here, no gloss black, which is amazing. Some double stitching here on this soft touch bit as well. You've got double stitching here around your dual wireless charging pads. Inside here, you get a nice deep pocket with your 12-volt outlet, 2 cup holders here, USB-C port inside of the armrest here with soft touch. You got a glove box over there as well that is magnetic. But I mean, look at how nicely all of this closes up. You do have a leather-wrapped heated steering wheel here. Now, one difference between this and the Refresh Model 3 that I have is that you do have a turn signal stock. They added that back. I don't care. I'm fine with using the buttons on the steering wheel. In fact, I'm completely used to it that the stock messes me up, but you have it now. So the buttons are a little bit rearranged. You got wipers here, lights here. This is your play and pause or your customizable option. You got FSD or autopilot on this button. You can pull up your cameras here, and then you can use your voice assistant as well. Tesla word mark in the center, but a pretty simplified steering wheel design. It's nice and thick. I like that. Then you get a little bit of textured plastic at the bottom. No accent stitching or anything like that. You do have a little contrast stitching, but it's on the back, so you can't really see it. Now up top, just an auto-dimming rearview mirror. No smart rearview mirror features here, but you do have a camera here that will watch you for your self-driving and autopilot options. LED lights up here. You've got a little built-in park reverse, neutral, and drive that will activate if the screen ever isn't working. And then we come to this 15.2-inch infotainment system here. Now you'll notice we don't have any driver information display, just clean. All of your information is going to be over here on this screen. Now I've talked about this screen in depth. We don't really have time to go through all of it, but some of the highlights, you've got all of your streaming services built in. So you've got Apple Music, Apple Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, TuneIn, Sirius XM, Bluetooth, Spotify, all of that kind of stuff built in. You've got an energy menu, phone, Bluetooth, all that kind of stuff you'd expect. You've got built-in navigation. Tesla's navigation is among the best on the market as far as its fluidity, how it moves, how it works. Of course, you've got full self-driving and autopilot built in on this one. But there's so much to talk about, and I've covered all of it. I have an entire playlist of Tesla videos if you guys are interested in a deep dive on this system. But I will say this beautiful 3D rendering, the clean graphics, it is my favorite thing about owning a Tesla. The software inside of Tesla vehicles, this isn't hyperbolic, it is truly unmatched. On-screen climate controls as you'd expect with no physical buttons. And then of course we have to take a look at this camera system because my goodness, look at how good these cameras are. You've got your rear camera, both your side pillar cameras, and then of course your front camera, which you don't have on any other Tesla vehicles outside of the Cybertruck. And as far as the seating surfaces go, these are a leatherette seating surface. They are heated and ventilated for driver and passenger, heated for rear seat outboard passengers. Not a whole lot to them. You can get them in white, which is nice. They're power adjustable with lumbar support on both sides, except no lumbar on that side. All right, so let's take the Model Y for a little test drive. But before we do, let's get a DB test at idle. right around 33 dB. But if you guys haven't driven a Tesla before, you'll notice that there's no stocks. Typically on the Model 3, there's no stocks. There is one turn signal stock here on the Model Y, but there's no shift stock. So how you shift, there's a couple different ways. There is auto shift. So if we go into dynamics, and we go down to auto shift, you can turn that on. I use that on my Model 3 all the time. And basically how this works, you get in the car, you buckle in. Obviously there's no push to start button, just like the Equinox, you just sit down. It recognizes there's a driver. And then unlike the Equinox where you actually would use the shift stock, all you're gonna do is tap the brake. It's going to automatically determine whether there's stuff in front of you or stuff behind you if you want to go and drive, or reverse. In this case, nothing in front of us, so we're going to go into drive, and you just press the accelerator pedal. It's that simple, and that I love. Another thing that I really like about the Tesla, obviously I'm a Tesla owner, so I'm very familiar with all this type of stuff, but I'm trying to bring this information to you guys in more of a comparative way and less of like, buy a Tesla, because you can do your own research. If you want to buy a Tesla, great. In this climate, if you don't, totally understand. But one thing I really love about the ecosystem is just how seamlessly everything interacts. You don't have a physical key. Your phone is your key, or you can use one of the key cards they give you. So I guess technically there is a physical key, but use the key card. But while we're cruising here at city speeds, let's go ahead and get a dB test. So right around 59 dB. Let's go ahead and give it some juice, get up to highway type speeds. I'm gonna slow down so I have some more space. So about 63 dB at highway speeds. Now again, we're on a back road, so we're not technically on the highway, but just to give you some frame of reference there. But while we're cruising here, we can just talk about some of the main differences that I noticed between the Equinox and the Tesla Model Y here. Now, I mentioned in my Equinox video, and I actually shot these test drives on different days, because the Equinox EV I have more access to. I work at a Chevy dealership, so I have access to those types of vehicles and I can make videos on them more easily. The Tesla Model Y, I don't know anybody that has one. I personally don't have one. Like I've mentioned several times, I have a Model 3, but I actually have to borrow this on a demo drive, so I can only shoot it in kind of short segments. But I'd mentioned that the Equinox EV felt taller to me than the Model Y. I think I might retract that as dramatically as I said it. I don't think there's as much of a difference in ride height as I thought. Obviously, again, I don't daily a Model Y, so dailying a Model 3, you notice the difference in that larger SUV body style. But switching between the two in just this recent day, in driving them back and forth a little bit, I think they're a lot closer. Now, I don't know the exact numbers, but from my eye level, it feels about the same. Now, the Equinox feels like a larger vehicle overall, even though it's not in every dimension larger, but it definitely feels like a bigger vehicle. It feels more like an SUV. This feels more like a raised car. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a compliment. I think this feels a little bit smoother and more maneuverable than your traditional SUV, and I appreciate that. But one thing that just absolutely stands out about the Model Y versus the Equinox is the visibility. There is just, it almost feels like you're driving a glass bubble. Some people like that, some people don't. I mean, obviously that big panoramic roof is going to make a big impact on that. That's one thing in and of itself, but the huge front glass, huge windows on the sides, relatively large A-pillar actually, but it doesn't really feel like it gets in the way. The Equinox to me feels like it borrows a lot of its like Chevy counterparts in the Camaro and just has not great visibility. And I don't know why that is. Some people are going to love the Model Y cabin. I happen to fall into that group. I like a nice clean design. I don't miss the driver information center in the slightest. I have everything I need on this display, and it kind of gives you like a little floating window over here with your speed, what gear you're in, your lights, and you can obviously make this full screen, see a 3D rendering of everything that's around your vehicle. All of that is great. That's one of my favorite things about the Tesla. Not everybody likes that though. Some people like having an information display right in front of your eyes. Some people love having the heads-up display. And for that, you're just gonna have to get something else other than a Tesla. And if you do love that, the Equinox EV is an excellent option. One thing I will mention for Tesla is that there's a lot of third-party accessories that you can add on to add some of that tactile stuff back in. You can buy digital displays if you want to. You can buy heads-up displays if you want to. You can use any of Enhance Auto's products that I highly, highly recommend. I've covered all of them on this channel that you can integrate into, so you can add as many buttons and knobs and stalks that you want to without being stuck with what the manufacturer gives you, which I think is a huge plus for Tesla. There's a lot of customization that comes along with it. And as we've just been cruising, we're actually driving the exact same route that we drove the other day with the Equinox when it torrentially downpoured on us. And to be honest with you guys, it hasn't stopped raining since. And we've caught a little bit of a dry spell here, which is wonderful. I can't put it through the same torture test that unfortunately that poor Equinox had to go through, but I'm driving the same route so I can kind of gauge the responsiveness. And I mentioned in that Equinox test drive that I just felt that there was a little bit of a delay between what input I gave it via the steering wheel and what the vehicle actually did. And you can kind of see that here on the Model Y. There's no delay. It's just so snappy. And it just, you feel so connected. Didn't want to get all the way up because this is a closed road here, but you really can feel that juice. Now again, this is a dual motor all-wheel drive, so it's a little different. I'm not going to judge it too much up against, this is somebody's house, up against something that just has that front-wheel drive motor with the Equinox EV. But I would expect, even with the all-wheel drive Equinox, which has noticeably less horsepower and torque than this Model Y, I think it's going to be a decisive win to Tesla either way. That's just one of the things they really excel in. The technology is really great, the software is really great, and the motor performance is really great. But let's talk a little bit about driving assistance. So your Tesla Model Y here is going to come standard with autopilot. We're going to turn on autopilot first so you guys can kind of see what some of the differences are. So we've already got some renderings on screen here when we go into autopilot. So what we can do is we can just push the button on the steering wheel and we're going to get this kind of semi-automated driving system here. It's going to keep you in the center of the lane. This will actually take you around slight curves, as you can see in the road here. We've got a pretty decent curve. It's doing a good job. It'll keep you away from the vehicle in front of you. It'll keep you your preset distance, all that kind of stuff. It's like a really advanced adaptive cruise control system with stop and go. That's very similar to what you've got with something like Super Cruise, although Super Cruise only works on pre-mapped highways. As you can see, we are not on a pre-mapped highway. We are on a back road here. Now, what this will do is make you apply turning force to the wheel. You're not going to get that hands-free option, but if we go ahead and come to a stop here, we can turn on full self-driving. So now we've got full self-driving on. First thing you're going to notice is all of the graphic renderings of everything become a lot more detailed. So you're going to see all the cars around, you're going to see people, you're going to see motorcycles, you're going to see trash cans, you're going to see stop signs, stop lights, all that kind of stuff is going to show up. And this is a fully hands-free system. It does require you to keep your eyes forward on the road, but if we go ahead and enable it, you can use this highway, city, wherever. You do not have to have a navigation point put in. You can just use it blindly. Mark Rober, there's a little note for you, but you can see it's rendering speed limit signs. It's going to keep you around the speed limit, maybe a little bit faster than that, depending on what you've got it set as. You've got different profiles. I've covered full self-driving extensively on this channel. I use it every single day. I've got a whole playlist of videos. If you want to watch those, I'll have them linked above. But this is, hands down, argue with the wall, the best fully automated driving system out there. It'll take you point to point, no hands, and it's pretty incredible. Both of those systems come stock on every vehicle. Now, full self-driving, you have to pay for it. It's $99 a month, or you can pay up front for like $8,000. Wouldn't recommend doing that. But autopilot, standard. Super Cruise got added on as an option. It's about $2,500, I think, to add it on, maybe $3,000. But as you can see here, even in this complex scenario where we've got a dummy stoplight here with some traffic cones here, it is coming to a full stop and obeying the traffic laws. Light turns green, here we go. It's incredible. The technology here is second to none. But again, as far as technology and like what comes on both vehicles, pretty comparable. You got wireless charging on both. You got USB-C charging on both. You've got on-screen climate controls, 15-inch infotainment system for the Tesla, 17.7-inch for the Equinox. No driver information display on the Tesla. You do have the driver information display on the Equinox, so similarities, differences here and there. Both have leather-wrapped heated steering wheels. Both have heated and ventilated leatherette seat options, so a lot of these, the creature comforts are both there. But I think overall, design-wise, if you prefer a little bit more intricate design, a little bit more going on, a little bit more to look at, the Equinox is definitely the move. If you prefer something that's a little bit cleaner, a little bit less busy, a little bit more, you can call it elegant if you want, clean, whatever, you maybe want to go with the Model Y. Now let's talk performance here on the Model Y. Obviously, I've talked a little bit about the increased horsepower numbers, you know, dual motor versus single motor. It's a little bit of a difference here. 319 miles of range on the Equinox EV. This Model Y here with the dual motor and the long range battery pack is rated for 327 miles of range. Again, realistically, between both models, you're not going to get that on either one. You're not getting 319 on the Equinox, and you're not getting 327 on this. I can guarantee you that. We're at 38% SOC, and we are at 125 miles of range. And then as far as charging, obviously 150 kilowatt DC fast charging on the Equinox EV, 250 kilowatt DC fast charging on the Tesla here. So your charging performance is just going to be better on the Tesla. That's just kind of how it is. But let's talk about the charging experience in and of itself. So I'm very familiar with it, obviously. The Equinox comes with that dual level charging cable that has the 2 different ports, so you can use it as a home charger, whether you want to plug it into your more traditional 120 volt outlet or you want to plug it into a 240 volt outlet, you have that option as well. And you'll notice there when I was backing up how you get kind of this heat map of the stuff that's around your vehicle. And we've got our Equinox EV right here, but you can kind of see it's showing me how close I am to the objects behind me and gives me a little bit of kind of a rendering generically of what everything's going to look like. So that's really helpful for backing up. And this, of course, has features like auto park, which will automatically park you in a spot, back you into a spot really easily. So tons of tech on the Model Y. I've covered extensively. Again, if you want to watch videos on all the technology that this vehicle has and all Tesla vehicles have, check out my channel. I've got plenty of videos talking about it. But I think one of the things that Tesla really has going for them is obviously the supercharger network. But the Equinox EV can use Tesla superchargers, but the whole like seamlessness of the process is a little bit different. So you have to download the Tesla app, you have to go into the charging and select that you're using a non-Tesla vehicle. You have to have the J1772 to NACS adapter. Just a little bit more complex, whereas with the Tesla, you have all of your kind of payment information saved on your vehicle. You walk up to the supercharger, you back in, you click the button on the handle, the little charging flap opens right up. It automatically starts charging. It will charge your card saved to your Tesla profile. It's all very seamless. While both vehicles can use those chargers, the process, if you're going to be exclusively using those or trying to plan a trip according to those Tesla superchargers, using the actual Tesla product is always going to be a better experience. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and you learned something, drop a like. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Which one of these electric SUVs do you prefer? Let's talk about it down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.